Hello, and welcome to Education Chat, a podcast made by students for students. My name is Alyssa Ray,
And hi, I'm Alicia Paulino.
and we are so happy to be back with another episode. Today, we are going to be talking about how the fear of failure might be holding you back academically and give you tips on how to overcome it.
GIA has recently did a research study called Student Enrollment and Persistence, which focused on the decline in college enrollment rates after the pandemic. They wanted to get a better understanding of why this was occurring, but more specifically, what it would take for young adults ages 18 to 25 to enroll and persist in post-secondary education.
Some of the questions that they focused on are what are people doing instead of college? What were the original triggers for not enrolling or persisting? What are the current barriers for enrolling and persisting? And what would it ultimately take for them to enroll or return to college today? And lucky for you, we have those answers. Some of the key findings found that cost, lack of a clear academic path, and access to support services were main reasons why students hesitate to enroll, which I think is an obvious kind of guess if we were to guess why students aren't enrolling, because cost, number one, obviously college is so expensive.
Yeah.
Um,
Even when the pandemic was happening, classes were still the same price, even though we were all through Zoom,
Online, yeah,
which wasn't adding up to me. I'm like, why am I paying the same if I'm not in person? So I think cost was just, she was up there. It was up there.
exactly. And then like also a clear lack of academic path. That's a big one. I mean, why are you going to enroll in college if you don't really have an idea of where you want to end up? You don't have an end goal and you're not sure if college is for you.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
a big one, a big factor. And
Because
then
often, oh,
go
were
ahead.
you gonna say something? Thank you. I think oftentimes a lot of people are always like, well, if you don't like your major, you should just major somewhere else or switch to another major. But I think oftentimes what a lot of people fail to realize is that switching to another major is expensive. You have to take more classes, and it's a lot of work and effort. So I think just not having a clear path is also again just obvious. It's just such an obvious answer to why a lot of students just have that fear. You understand? So, oh, you were
Definitely.
saying, yeah.
Not everyone has the luxury to pick a different major. They don't have that timeline. They're on a strict like financial aid plan and they can't just afford to just keep changing their classes, changing their major. It's a big deal. So you can't expect people to go to college if they don't know what they want to do with the rest of their
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
That's obvious. But lastly, access to support services was a main reason why students hesitate. That's a big thing. I mean, support services such as like childcare, like counseling, right? What else? What other services? Like the den where they offer like food and stuff.
Food
Uh,
pantries,
uh-huh.
farmers markets. I know some campuses do that as well. But often I think we're realizing like maybe just personal space. Because during the pandemic, I know a lot of families, maybe multi-generational families, were all living together. So it's like how can I do my work in like a safe environment? How can I get my work done if like my kid's screaming and crying because I can't have daycare, like you mentioned? So it's just yeah, it's just all of those things can all coincide together.
Yeah, for sure. But unsurprisingly, one of the most common answers that students were listing was the fear of failure. That was a reason why they did not enroll or return during the COVID shutdown. And these fears range from lack of confidence in their ability to succeed academically to a fear of not being accepted by their peers and the fear of not being able to succeed in a career, which I think all of us have been there. Like, yeah, and I've been there. Like,
Right? Oh, I've been there.
it's like you're going through college and you're doing all this work and like you have this like gnawing thought in the back of your mind the entire time. You're like, is this going anywhere? Am I ever going to find a job? Like, yes, this is good for me going to college, but it's like at the end of the day, am I ever going to find the career that I'm looking for?
Exactly, because
Yeah.
like, you go to college and, like, after you graduate I know for, traditional students, because we have parent learners and things like that, but for the most part, people who graduate are 21 to 24, right? That's typically the age group or so.
Mhm.
So they're young adults. How are you supposed to know what you wanna do for the rest of your life at 21, 23, 24? It's like you're having a midlife crisis in your early 20s. It's ridiculous to think about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could totally understand that fear of failure and how just consuming that could be mentally and probably even physically for some people as well.
Speaking of fear of failure, I think it's important for us to dive into reasons why students get in the way of their own success. And there are a lot of reasons for students to fail, but here are some of the common reasons for student academic failure. Number one being the fear of failure and fear of success. So some students fear failure, so they neglect their studies, they stop trying and hoping that if they do not try, then they won't have to feel bad when they inevitably fail. This kind of fear can occur in students who are overachievers or who do not believe in themselves academically, or in some cases, students who just have low self-esteem. I've been there. It's like you don't you don't want to try because you just have this like fear in your head. Really, it's what it is. Like you can't do this, you're not good enough, you're going to fail. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, other students fear success, which is common among students who are worried about the responsibilities that they'll will face if they do succeed, or other ways their lives might change once they do succeed. So they might fear college life or a difficult career, or they might fear having to move far away to relocate and be away from family or friends. That's another thing that's scary as well.
That like
I've been
what's
there
next
too.
mentality. Like what's
Yeah,
next? Like that to me is probably like the most intimidating
the
question you can ask me.
uncertainty.
What's next?
Uh-huh.
I won't answer you. I'll just sit there and smile because I'm like, what is next? It's just so don't ask a college student that, guys. Tips. Don't ask a college student what's next. We also have to talk about the lack of preparation, guys, the lack of preparation that some students go through. And this can sometimes mean that you didn't take the necessary steps to study for a test or finish key assignments or even complete college applications. And for students who lack preparation, it might allow them to fall short in school. And that could also mean not seeking advice or seeking help and materials, which could often lead them to fall back behind. So just really not taking advantage of what your school offers, like counselors or study groups or study sessions or tutors or mentors or people who are just there to help you and can stop that lack of preparation from becoming something that could probably be out of your control.
And with that being said, the next one kind of goes hand in hand with lack of preparation. It's lack of motivation. Some students lack motivation, so they become apathetic. And when students are unmotivated, they might feel that academic success doesn't matter or that they'll never achieve it. The students who lack motivation might have experienced a good deal of failure early on in their education and feel that there's no point in trying any longer. Unfortunately, I've seen this with a lot of my peers. Like I saw this back in high school. I saw this when I was in college. A lot of people have just been told like that they can't do it, that they're not good enough academically. I've seen it. And they keep getting constant even though they're very smart, they're very intelligent, they have what's the word? They have potential.
Mm,
They keep getting bad grades and so they just feel like they shouldn't try.
mm,
They just feel like there's no point. They just feel like I should just give up. But they have everything to get them to succeed. They just don't believe in themselves. They've just been told too many times like they've just failed too many times is what it is. And so they've just gotten like comfortable failing and they don't
mhm.
want to try anymore.
Yeah. I
So,
also oh,
yeah.
sorry. No,
No, go
you
ahead.
can okay, okay. No, I was saying how you mentioned how, the failing can lead to lack of motivation, but when you're saying that, I was also thinking about people who try so hard and are doing good could lead to burnout. So I think it's like a double-edged sword. So it's like even if you do bad, you're losing motivation. You do good, you lose motivation. It's like how how do you win? How do you win?
Glad you asked that question because these students need to find a why, a kind of like a purpose when it comes to academic success, a reason that will motivate them to achieve their goals. A motivation can come from a career goal, a desire for future accomplishment, the hope to be financially stable, which is a big one, or even the desire to give back to the community or to their family members.
Mhm. So finding that reason why essentially.
Yeah.
Now that Alyssa and I have gone over ways that students get in the way of their own success, I do want to jump into some tips on how to overcome failure. But to first do that, I want to note that failure is an important part of success. And that actually leads us into our first tip, which is accepting failure as a necessary part of life. So, when it comes to students, I think it's really hard for any student to accept that failure is just a part of their academic journey, because, in a way, that kind of seems contradicting in a sense. And the ironic part of this truth is that the only way to avoid failure is to actually embrace it. If you realize that you will absolutely fail in pursuit of your success, the idea of failure will no longer feel so scary. So, in a way, it actually works in your favor. However, it is important to realize that every failure will require you to overcome. You will fail, but then you must learn from that failure and try again.
The next tip that we have for you kind of goes hand in hand with accepting failure as a necessary part of life. It's just to have compassion for yourself. We're all human beings, we make mistakes. So, in order to deal with failure, you also have to have great compassion for yourself. If you make a mistake or find yourself on the wrong path, know that you can always redirect. Beating yourself up will never help you overcome failure. It's never going to help you get better. It's never going to make the situation better than it was. So, recognizing why you might have failed and then learning from that is always the key to making your mistakes and turning it into a lesson. So try
Mm.
to process every failure, allow yourself to heal from it, learn what you need to in order to help you grow and improve, and then come back and try to correct that mistake with a new approach.
Our next tip that I want to share with you guys is adopting a mindset of resilience. So, the ability to learn from failure and to keep working towards your goals, anyways, comes from the adopting a resilient mindset. This takes practice, but you can train yourself to understand that failure is a part of life and then be willing to keep trying anyway, which also coincides with the compassion you're talking about earlier, Alyssa. An important aspect of resilience is the desire to learn from mistakes. If you fail, knowing that you can find a solution and work towards your goals in ways should help you overcome your failure.
The next tip that we have is to set realistic, smaller goals to help you reach your larger goals. So, one way to lessen the fear of failure is to set smaller goals that are more realistic to accomplish. This might mean setting a goal to get a higher grade on your next test or to understand one new concept in a class that's difficult for you. It's basically just trying to get you to inch your way towards your goals in smaller increments as opposed to coming from here, starting from 0, jumping all the way to 10. It's not gonna happen overnight, so using this tip and helping you kind of baby step your way towards your goals is gonna help you succeed faster, I feel. By
I
achieving
also,
small goals by
oh,
achieving
sorry.
small goals that lead you toward a larger academic goal, you'll feel more confident along the way, and you can celebrate each accomplishment.
Exactly, and it also helps to not make everything seem as overwhelming. So I
Uh-huh.
think that's really important just to like you mentioned, do the baby steps,
Mhm.
which I think a lot of us kind of fail to realize. Like I know for me, when I see my Canvas assignments, if I see all of them, I'm just like, how am I gonna get all of that done? So it's just if you take it class by class or like assignment by assignment, it's really easy. So set those smaller goals. But with that, when it comes to the assignments, like I mentioned, it kind of segs us into our next tip, which is just being organized. Get organized. So when it comes to organization, this could be academic or it could be personal, but it's just basically recognizing and easily removing barriers that are getting in the way of you just essentially succeeding. And this can mean you not doing an essay or a project or cleaning up your desk or reviving your notes or just anything that you are stopping yourself from being a better version of yourself essentially. So remembering that this is not procrastination. I think the two of them kind of get mixed up, like organization and procrastination. But when it comes to this, this can actually be a necessary first step in getting started in the organizational process. So it's really important to keep that in mind when discussing organization.
For sure. You would be surprised at how much organization can do for you, whether it's cleaning your room or just having like your homework or your assignments
Mhm.
um written down in your agenda. Organization is key to
It
succeed
is key.
people.
It is key. Find a good mute playlist and like get to it.
Yes. So with these tips in mind, along with a resilience mindset, there's no reason to fear failure. Utilize your resources and keep working towards those goals because success is not a straight line. It's not easy. You're not going to get there overnight. You will fail, but failure is a part of the process. So just trust in yourself, trust that you can do whatever you put your mind to, and that will eventually come to fruition, I believe.
Exactly, exactly. Have compassion with yourself, set those mindsets, set smaller goals. But like Alyssa said, it's not a straight line. If life was a straight line, we would all be living it, and that would not be fun. So just be kind to yourself and you will succeed. You will succeed. But remember, you cannot succeed without what?
Failing. Failing?
Failing.
I
Yes,
was
failing.
like, what?
Pop quiz, pop quiz. Yes, you cannot succeed without failing.
I wasn't sure what the answer you were looking for there was,
Right? I
but
was like, imagine it was something super hard.
I know, like, huh? But yeah, that is our episode for you guys today. We hope that you enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments down below which tip you are going to take in mind. Pick and choose which ones you need in your life and utilize them to your advantage. We hope that you have a successful school year. We hope that you succeed in all your endeavors. So, hopefully, this will help you get a little closer to reaching those goals.
Hopefully. And we wish you guys all the best with your academic journey, and we mean that sincerely. All right, then. Well, thank you guys for watching the first
Until next
episode
time,
of Education Chat.
bye.
And then bye, guys.